everyone, and welcome to this episode of the Rockaway Creates Connection Podcast. This month, we're celebrating community, so we have some amazing guests for that. Our first guest today, Dan Guarino, is a photographer and a journalist at the Rockaway Times. He lives in Broad Channel, one of the most beloved neighborhoods considered part of the Rockaway community. Dan is an active member of Rockaway Creates, and we're so pleased to celebrate him this month. Our second guest this month is Jane Parmel. She is a business efficiency and profit acceleration strategist. Jane is a certified professional coach who works with clients on claiming their value, pricing strategies, focus on signature systems, and authentic branding. She's also known as a no-nonsense speaker and an author. You can find her on Instagram at JPBizCoaching. That's B-I-Z coaching. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you
for having us. Yeah.
Yes.
So, Dan,
All right.
we'll start with you.
Yeah. Where would you like to start?
So how did you get to Rockaway? How long have you been part of this community?
Oh gosh, how did I get to Rockaway? I think it was a bus originally. How did I get to Rockaway? That's a longer story. I was born in New York. I was born in Central Queens in Jackson Heights, and moved to Bayside, moved to Flushing. In any case, I met this wonderful woman who later became my wife, and she lived out in Far Rockaway. So when we moved together, suddenly I found this whole other end of the world called Far Rockaway. And then after a few years, we moved to Broad Channel, and I've been here ever since. So that's probably way back in the early 80s that I got here. And, even though I wasn't, quote unquote, born here, that at some point I realized this is home. This is home. Rockaway, Broad Channel, my adopted hometowns. And I've really felt that this is home. So that's the short version.
Wow. Dan, we've done some work together. I didn't know that's how you got here. So,
yeah.
So I want to say that you're like a Renaissance man. You do all kinds of things, arts. You've been a photographer for events I've had. You've done a lot of great stuff. So what got you into the arts?
That's a really good question. And probably like a lot of people, I never really thought about myself as an artist, as a writer, any of those things. And a lot of the things I've done, like acting or music, are things I never really thought that I would do. So I think that artistic streak has been throughout my life. That's been in there. But gradually, I think this is part of the magic of Rockaway, if you will, is that you are or can be in touch with so many different things and so many different types of people and things going on. Whereas, say, if you have a spark for something, anything, it may not find a place for it to light up or to meet other sparks of its kind. A long time ago, I dabbled in, I took painting, I took sculpture, all kinds of things in college. So I knew that I really enjoyed that. A very long time ago, I'd been seeing things for the Rockaway Artist Alliance. And at one point, my days off coincided with their meetings. I thought, I'll just go down. Maybe I'll get back into painting. I never got back into painting. But I found a place where at the time, at least, you could exhibit things. Wow, what an amazing thing that was. I never thought I'd do that, so I started doing that. And then I started with a shove towards the stage is to do spoken word poetry that I'd written. I've written like 3,000 poems. And then gradually music came along and I was able to do that. I didn't think I was that great, but I began to perform. And it was, again, in Rockaway, you can meet other people who are doing what you're doing, who will encourage you, mentor you. I've had a lot of mentors who you can spark off ideas from. And all of these things evolve till, right now I can say I'm an exhibiting photographer, a professional photographer, I'm an artist, I'm a writer. I formed a writers group along the way. P.S. somewhere in there was with RA for 15 years and was president for 5 years, picking up the reins after Hurricane Sandy to rebuild it. So it's been that kind of a journey. I can say that really Rockaway has been the seed ground for that. Because even now, you can walk out and almost anything you're interested, you'll find like-minded people who are interested also in one place.
Amazing. And so, as Galit said, this month we're talking about community, and you and I have been in several communities together.
Yes.
When I say community to you, like, what does that mean to you?
Community to me is very key to the Rockaways. There's a lot of times I have opportunity to speak to other people about Rockaway, about Broad Channel. This is Broad Channel behind me, by the way. This is one of my photographs. Wait, you'll all want a better look.
Beautiful.
Yeah,
It's
that
really
scene doesn't come with my big head in the way. So,
beautiful.
and so I've had, for instance, spoken to students, for instance, from different colleges all over different parts of the country, from other countries. And I tell people one of the things that distinguishes Rockaway is a sense of community. So your theme is very, very present always. I've lived in other places and I've never encountered such a sense of community. That, as my late cousin said when we ever went to an event, she said there were all kinds of people there, young, old, different types of people, and everybody knew each other even though they didn't know each other. And that's very much so. Also, there's a strong sense that we don't just live here as in this particular neighborhood, on this particular space of ground. It's like, no, we live here. There's almost like a possessiveness to the community. You may never go to the boardwalk, but generally speaking in Rockaway, you are very interested in whatever is going on with the boardwalk, how they're putting it together, where they're putting things. And even delving back into the history of Rockaway, especially Broad Channel, because I've published 2 books about the history of Broad Channel, is the channel has that same sense of community, of small townness, even though people do now move in and out all the time, is that very much sense like, no, this is our place, as in ours all together, and it's important to us. You know, we're kind of rooted into the sand here. So community, very much a thing and a distinction in what makes Rockaway and Broad Channel what they are today, what they are now, and always.
Amazing.
Yeah. It's definitely something I can totally agree with what you say about the Rockaway being like the only place that you can, or for me, the only place that I've ever felt a real community connection. And it's always the thing when I go to somewhere else that feels lacking.
Yes, there may be other groups. I think about this sometimes. If you go to a community event, there may be other groups in other parts and in other places, certainly, and people care about what they do. But Rockaway, Broad Channel, they're the only places where you won't find, say, just that group attending an event. You'll find everybody there. Just this weekend, they opened the Labyrinth, which hopefully I'll only have to spell so many times, in Rockaway. And you would expect the people who are into that, who it's kind of a walking path for those who don't know. It's really more of a walking path that goes around and around, and you follow it. It's like if you've done a meditation where you're focusing on your breathing. Well, this is meditation where you're focusing on your walking, on your movement, and you lose yourself in that. So they just opened this new project in Rockaway where it's embedded into the ground. It's a beautiful thing. And you might say, well, all right, any place else, a few people might turn up who are interested in that. This had so many different people of so many different, again, backgrounds and types who attended because it's Rockaway and it's a thing. You know? And I think proof of I know, Jane, I'm not sure for you, but I know that 3/4 at least of us have come from elsewhere into Rockaway. You as well, Jane? Yeah.
Yes.
And one thing I notice is that people don't come here and say, wow, this is great, I'm going to recreate it totally. No, they say, this is great, it's wonderful. And they sort of slip into the groove of being part of it and want to add their particular color to the tapestry, their particular flavor to the mix, rather than try and change it over. All of us have become sort of just right in step with it. And that's I find is continually amazing. And we're
Yeah, I want to talk a little bit about your work with the Rockaway Times.
Sure.
So, what are the kind of things that you write about, and how did you get into that?
I could literally say I was swept into local journalism. That is, I've had about at least 4 long time professional careers in my lifetime so far, and gosh knows how many things in between that I've done at the same time usually. So just before, my late wife Elizabeth used to do a column, broad channel column for the newspaper, and then she passed away, and the owners asked me if I would take over the column. I really had to think about it, if I could do it justice, if I could do right by her memory, and also by the community. But eventually I took it up and I was doing it. And I had a full-time job. I worked for Time Warner Cable as a manager, um, with about 100 people directly reporting to me and 5 supervisors, which was great until they downsized a bunch of us. So we were out. And that was 2012. So I was out of a job, figuring out what I'm going to do next. And then Hurricane Sandy came along, swept me out of a home. I had to leave the area I lived on the go for about a year, which was very heartbreaking for me. But even a disaster comes with an opportunity. Like I found with the Rockaway Artists Alliance, it kind of gave us a clean slate. And that's when I stepped in, took over, and we started to rebuild anew and different and restart. Anyway, about journalism, at the same time I was getting swept out of house and home, and thousands of us were here. The Wave newspaper had also gotten washed out. They were on the first floor. And I got a call saying, well, we have been wiped out. We don't know who's coming back. We don't know where they are, when they are, even if they're coming back at all. Would you come down and help? And I was doing absolutely nothing at the time, said sure. And 2.5 days later, or 2 days later, I met Kevin Boyle, the brand new editor, as the previous one had left. And he turned to me at about half the day and said, how would you like to be associate editor of the paper? And we'll end our search for that right now. I said, sure. So from that day forward, I was in journalism, and eventually Kevin moved on, founded the Rockaway Times, and eventually I started working for them. I have covered pretty much everything all up and down the peninsula, from murders and suicides to children's parties, art openings, so forth. Now I have the joy and honor of working for the Rockaway Times on a freelance basis. So that means I can look for stories they might be interested in, and I will pitch that past the publishers, the editor, the new owners, the McVeighs, and say, would you like me to do a story? Most of the time the answer will be yes. Or they will have a story and say, we're interested in doing this story. Are you interested in writing it? I'll say yes. So just in general, I have covered businesses extensively. I've covered new business openings, events, because I'm now involved with the Rockaway Theater Company, which again is something I never thought I'd end up in my life doing theater, is I get to do things about them, and really just whatever might come along that I can cover. I have to say, it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun to do that. And especially after the hurricane, I felt that I had a chance to really, really help my community more than I ever possibly could, giving information, writing about what's available, what resources, talking about what's back on its feet again. It was a real boost for me, and just talking to people, and even documenting the damage and the some of the chaos of that. So that's how I got here, literally swept in by Hurricane Sandy, pretty much.
Wow. And also, Dan had an article about Rockaway Creates on the front page. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was really fun, because even though you've been around, and we have transferred over into Rockaway Creates, mm-hmm. You're a pretty new member. And so we get the benefits of having you as a member and covering our transition from Ladies of Business. So what made you join Rockaway Creates?
Wow. First of all, it was a pleasure to write the article. And a lot of times I look and I I think we all know, we've all had this experience of there's something going on in Rockaway, and it could have been going on for a while, and we had no idea. There's sort of all these wonderful things going on. And one of the things I get to do a lot of times, like, you know what, I like, even in my personal private capacity, I like to promote whatever's going on, even if I'm not involved in it. So Rockaway Creates is kind of interesting because, again, Shayna, you and I have been connected for years. In fact, we met on the boardwalk as you were emceeing an autism awareness benefit with hand puppets, I believe, and through my friend John Keybon, he had asked me to come down and play, and I said, sure, I'll open if you want to. So I was out there with my guitar and singing. And when Rockaway Creates came up, I wasn't quite sure what is this. What is this thing in the box? And when you had an open meeting and said, gee, it's no longer Ladies of Business Rockaway Beach, it's now Rockaway Creates, it's open. I thought, well, let me go and find out, because I do love to mingle with people with ideas, with things to say, with different paths they can gain knowledge from. And what I really like about the organization is its focus. You're focused on promoting businesses of all kinds, brick and mortar established, entrepreneurs, online businesses, and you really have some really, I'd say, in my estimation, really big ideas about what you're doing. It's not on a small scale at all. When you're talking about, say, getting co-working spaces, getting commercial baking and cooking spaces, and here's the big ampersand for me, because I find myself involved in a lot of different things and in a lot of different worlds and circles, is you're interested in promoting Rockaway's creatives. And having worked for years with all kinds of artists, musicians, actors, performers, filmmakers, I think that's terrific, because really no group has been doing that in the past number of years. Thankfully, art doesn't just grow where people decide they're going to plant it and build a clubhouse around it. It sprouts everywhere. But your group has dedicated itself as its co-mission to promoting all of that, and I think that's terrific, because I always saw art and the artistic community is integral to the whole Rockaway community. I mean, we live in like a giant painting, and if I need to lean over one more time, okay. That's actually a few blocks from me in my neighborhood. That really exists. So that's really a very vibrant, vital part of Rockaway, is the arts, is the artistic people, the creative people, who are also very often very savvy, very practical, very even business minded. So that's what's brought me to Rockaway Creates.
Amazing.
Yeah, and I have a question for you, because I feel like when I am in Rockaway, there's always a million events going on, but I don't always find out about them until it's too late. So how do you find the events that you cover? And where do you get them from?
Yeah. Because tell me if you've had this experience all. You look at something, you see a flyer, so you go, oh, wow, that sounds really exciting, or something stuck on a lamp pole, and you go, oh, that happened a month ago. Yeah. Sometimes it is literally walking around. Like I was doing an interview today for a new pizza place that's open here in Broad Channel. And so I got there early, as I'm waiting, I'm looking, and I passed one of the local bars, and I see they have flyers in the window. I'm saying, oh, wow, I didn't know they were doing that. But that's part of it. It's just walking around, talking to people, looking at store windows. The other resource, if I can do a plug, is in the Rockaway Times, and also the other newspaper in Rockaway. But in the Times, they have a section called Things to Do, and also oh gosh, now I can't think of what the name is. Rockaway Good Times. So the Things to Do is literally listings of different things that are going on in the neighborhood, and also in other sections like High Tide in there. And Rockaway Good Times is where all the bands are playing. all through the weekend, where they're playing, who's playing, and then also things that are going on at the Rockaway Hotel, which does a lot of interesting programs and events. The Rockaway Theater Company, and other places like the Rockaway Film Festival, things like that. So I would check those sources first. I would check the local papers first before anything, and then Rockaway has a billion Facebook sites as well. And that's usually how I find stories to write about. Is I'm looking, I'm talking to people. I did something recently about fraud, about check scams, and I just happened to be sitting in the Last Stop Gourmet having breakfast and talking to a friend of mine who came and sat down. And he starts telling me, he says, "You know what happened to me in my bank?" I said, "No, what?" He's telling me all about how he was defrauded with checks. Like, that's a good story. Can I talk to you some more about that? So that's how I find out a lot of things.
I love it. It's like you are community. You know, there's times that I feel introverted, but you're just always like, when you show up, you're just such a good channel. No, yeah, of course, there's some broad channel joke because now that I'm talking to you, but you're just like a channel of like, oh, it's like you're a hub, like you connect people, and it's really like who you are. If somebody were to say that, you know, yeah, I would say you're a Renaissance man, that you really are a community, that you value it, and you're not, you know, you're very generous with all the things that you're a generous person, but you're generous in sharing people's events and things, and you know, even when it seems like it's out of your way, and you'll always show up. So yeah, it's lovely, and we're proud to have you as a member. And where can people get your books? They're beautiful books. The two books that you have.
Yeah, I just happen to have copies here. Let's see. Oh, that translates it all. No, not really. Okay.
There it goes.
Yeah, they're not really translucent. So anyway, there are two books, and both are published. They're not self-published. The first one, which I wrote with my late wife, is called Images of America Broad Channel. And it's there's a whole series of images of America all across the country, and in about 197 vintage pictures from 1908 to the middle late 50s, it documents the history of this particular community, which is most people even don't realize it's an island. It is the last inhabited island, Jamaica Bay, and it's a really interesting history. I learned a lot about not only Broad Channel, but it's the present day character from that. So that's from Arcadia Publishing. And both these books are on Amazon. Also, they're in the Gift is Love shop on Beach 116th Street. And the other, that was in black and white, sort of sepia tone. The other is a color book called Broad Channel Through Time, which is from Fonthill Media Publishers in England, and that's fun because it's color. So it takes historical photos of Broad Channel and takes modern day photos, which is fun for me because as a photographer, I got to take pretty much all the modern day photos and compares and contrasts these different places. And in the text, which and the research was writing on me is comparing, contrasting what's changed, what's the same, and so on. And that's also at the Gift is Love and also on Amazon. And if you plug in my name and books, you'll find the two of them. And if you see me or contact me, if you get them, I'll be happy to autograph them.
Yeah. And how do people reach out to you directly?
Sure. Directly, actually, probably, you can get me through Facebook or you can email me. And my email is workingstories@AOL.com. So it's literally working, the word stories at AOL. And anytime you have a question or something of interest, I'll be happy to, because I am probably the most extroverted introvert you'll meet. But I love meeting with people. I love helping people in any way possible. And if those connections help, I'm glad to offer it. Glad to offer it. So, and in a couple of months, you'll see me on stage at the Rockaway Theater Company in Hello Dolly. I was involuntarily volunteered into the Rockaway Theater Company about 7 years ago, and this is maybe 13 different shows later in Rockaway and Manhattan and Staten Island. So it's fun. It really is fun.
Amazing.
Beautiful.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And they have a new production opening on Friday comedy satire called Regrets Only. And if you want to get tickets, go to Rockaway Theater with the RE, rockawaytheatercompany.org, and you can order your tickets online. And it'll be a blast. I got to sit in on rehearsals and write about it. So
Amazing.
Enjoy.
Amazing. Thank you so much.
My
Hang around.
pleasure.
Yeah.
Sure. Now, when do we get to Jane? I'm ready.
Next week. You
Right
can keep going. I'm fascinated. I'm listening to everything. Taking
you.
notes and everything.
Nice.
See, this is where I want to hear your story. Now that we have this whole Brady Bunch thing going on with the panels.
Oh, too funny.
That's awesome. Yeah, so that's a great segue into Jane. How about you? How did you arrive in Rockaway?
I would love to say I always knew I would wind up here. I can't say that because I came from the other end of Queens, not too far from Jackson Heights, in Astoria. I grew up there. We like to call it landlocked. There is the river, but it's definitely not a beach community. But, through different things, I taught in Brooklyn, and I made friends with people in Brooklyn. And my wife has been driving through this area for 100 years, it seems.
Yeah.
Lived in Sheepshead Bay and always went out to Atlantic Beach, Long Beach, that area, and always said she wanted to live here. So, you take a ride or two down here and you kind of give it a second look. And then the second time you come down here, you kind of fall in love with it. And you're like, okay, if you can find some place to live, let's move. So that's how I wound up here about 7 or 8 years ago.
Yeah, that's awesome. And what about the community speaks to you?
This community reminds me of the way it used to be. I know that I'm a little bit older, so I like to think that it takes me back to my childhood. I grew up in Astoria, and everybody on the block knew who you are. You couldn't move. They reported back to your mother, and you were in trouble before you got home. You knew you were getting hit before you got in the door. That sense of people watching out for you, people looking out for you, people letting you know what's going on in the neighborhood, finding out different things, knowing where you could help. I'll be honest with you, a lot of places where I was living in Astoria, it changed drastically. People, hid behind their doors. Here, you come here and always think, the thing that pops into my mind is it's like small town America. And I laugh because it's New York, and you don't want to tell anybody, because if you find out, too many people are going to come down and they're going to spoil it. But that's the feeling. It reminds me of like when I was a kid, and people, everybody looks out for you. Everybody knows who you are. Sometimes you don't know who they are, but they know who you are. And could be creepy, but it helps. It makes you feel like people are recognizing you. People are concerned about what's going on in the neighborhood, who their neighbors are, and how they can help them. And I think that it drew me into it because I always remember my parents doing that. They were very big into the Long Island City, Astoria community back then. And they always instilled in me, service to the community was like paramount. And that's always been a way that I judge my comfort level. I did come here after a couple of years in Howard Beach. I said, I'm not getting involved. I swore I wasn't going to do it because it goes from a little bit to, a lot, and it becomes very engrossing, and sometimes it's in a good way, and most times it's in a good way. Sometimes there's the give and take, but I said I wasn't going to do it. But how could you not? When you're here in Rockaway, there's just such a community, such that feeling of community. And it doesn't matter where you go. Like Dan was saying, you just walk around the neighborhood, and people say hello to you here. Who does that in New York? People actually say hello, and they're not just going, hey, they're like, hi, how are you? How's your day going? And the first couple of weeks you're here, you're going, what's wrong with everybody? Now it's like, what's the matter with them? They didn't say hello to me, So that sense of community is really, it's great. I don't know how to describe it more than it's great, wonderful, terrific, and every other positive spin you could put on it.
Amazing. So Jane, you and I met through a speakers community many years ago at this point. So like, tell us a little bit about, and you have a new, it's a podcast, but with video. It's a vlogcast, I think you called it. Yeah. Share a little bit about like your passion, and also what is your work about? Because it's really paramount. It's actually paramount to business success. And so, yeah, anything you want to share.
So I had my own business. I was a teacher before in another life. And I opened up a business with my partner, now my wife, in Coney Island. And we did party planning. We did event management and party planning. And I don't tell a lot of people that, because then you wind up party planning and event planning for everything. But now the secret's out. We used to do it. We did it for 25 years. It was tiring because we didn't do it right. And I'll be honest with you, you're probably asking, well, why are you saying that? That's why I do what I do now. We struggled so much. We were given great advice. I have a family behind me of really great business people, but their businesses are really, really big. And they come with a lot of zeros and a lot of commas. When you're a small business, you don't have the ability to always have those commas, and you don't have all those zeros. And it's very, very difficult. Great business advice is great, but if it can't translate and scale down as well as scale up, it's no good. It's just advice. And we got a lot of it, and it was all very well meaning, but it didn't help us because it just didn't translate well. So what I do now, my business name is Cardinal Profit Strategies. And what I do is I look to take all the things that I've learned all these years with all these beings and people and programs that have come through my life, like cardinals do. When you're in the backyard here in Rockaway, we always see them, and try to take everything and put it all together and help the small business owners, the micro businesses in the area, especially, not have to make all the mistakes. I mean, listen, they're going to make some mistakes, but not make all the mistakes that may put them out of business on their own. Launching different things. I'm doing something now called Flash Coaching. So it's going to be basically 15 minutes, unlimited coaching sessions with me, because people don't have the time. They don't have the ability to make the commitment. Hey, if you can give me 15 minutes, we'll work on something that's coming up in your business that's causing you a problem. That's the kind of thing I want to do. I want to be able to put out those little fires and help them get a little bit more structure underneath what they do, so that they can build, they can grow, they can expand. And if it means that they just can have more time home with their families, so be it. So that's, my measure of success isn't always in the dollars. It's always in your lifestyle and what you want to do with it. So that's what I do. Amazing.
I love that. The several things that you've put out are just they feel like direct hit on what people need. And when you just say that, like putting out fires, it's like, if you put out a small fire, then you don't have to have a big blown up serious issue. And it's like, how many business owners are like, I just need this help right now. And then you can get to the other side. So I love that 15-minute. And just in the moment, how do people get in touch with you? Because it's a really nice thing for them to remember.
Sure. You could go on a lot of things, Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram. I'm everywhere. On JP Biz Coaching, and also Cardinal Profit Strategies. Cardinal Profit, I think, is mostly the handle, is Cardinal Profit. But I'm always welcome to have a conversation with somebody, see where it can go. There's nothing that's pressure. I do a lot of freebies. I do a lot of things just to see a free assessment, where they are, what they want to do. I'll sit and talk to anybody. I loved my grandparents. When I was little, you had the little tape recorder. Dan will appreciate this. I always wanted to be a reporter, a newscaster, something. I used to interview my grandparents. They used to see me coming with the little tape recorder and go, oh God, she's at it again. But I love listening to stories. So like, Dan talking, I could listen to you for hours, just telling, how you got here. Why are you where you are now? So I'm open to anybody. If anybody wants to just tell me everything that they did, everything they haven't done, everything they want to do, I want to help them get to where they are. So my thing with community, and one of the reasons that I really, really want to be more involved with Rockaway Creates, is the fact that people that are those small businesses, those micro businesses, don't have the same access to people, to consultants, to coaches, because it's just priced out of the ballpark. I know, I was there. I like to help them, and it's more about giving than receiving. So whatever it is in terms of compensation with people and bartering and all these things that you can do here in a community that you can't do everywhere else, I'm always open to that kind of thing too. So
yeah, I feel like that's a big thing in Rockaway that you do not get elsewhere. Is I know I've bartered a lot with my services, and it's something that you can only get in a community like Rockaway, where we're all in the same place. We all care about, the same things. We all are offering up of ourselves, and a lot of times so freely. And so it really helps. And sometimes you can't, you just don't have the money to pay somebody, but you can pay them in services or in, expertise. And it's really important to have that as well, and not be, this coming from a money coach, like not be so focused on the money all the time.
Right. Because as soon as you open your mouth, you go, oh, she's talking about money again. And it's not just about, listen, do we have to make money? Yes, we have to make money because we needed to live. You needed to eat. You needed to put a roof over your head. But in the same sense too, I have people that I work with now. I have clients that are afraid to make money. I know that sounds funny. They're in business, but they're afraid to make money. And my point is, well, they say, oh, I don't need that much. Okay, well, what is it that you do? I have one client that does work with her church. So I said to her, I said, you know what? I said, if you made more money in your business, you could do more for your church. All they do is fundraise, community organizations, church organizations. And it was all of a sudden like nobody said it to her. I said it to her. And all of a sudden she was like, oh, wait a minute. I can do that. That's what you want to be. That's, you can do more with more. So why not get more?
Yeah. And I love that you hit it right on the head with saying, it's also about having the extra time to spend with your family, right? To get things done more efficiently, or to make more money so that you have the security so that you can go on vacations and spend time with your family and not work until midnight every night, which is what a lot of people, a lot of small businesses, a lot of creatives are doing.
Right. And I think again, it comes with experience. It comes with age. It comes with what you've been through. When I was teaching, I know people used to pull their kids out of school to go to Disney World or whatever. And I used to sit there as a 20-something-year-old going, my God, they're going to miss school. They're going to miss this. And then you start to live life and you realize that people are here and then they're not, and situations are here and then they're not. Enjoying life is a lot more important. And hey, listen, when you live a block from the beach and a block from the bay, how could you not just want to sit back and enjoy life all the time? So it's a nice feeling. The community here in Rockaway gives you that feeling that you can actually bring into other networks. Like I said, Shane, like Shane said, we met through the Women's Speakers Association, and we literally met 3 years ago and did not meet in person. And we live, like a mile or two away from each other until last month. It's just crazy. But pandemic aside and everything, it's just a question of really becoming part of the community and really wanting to give back, and not wanting to just take and do for yourself. Really give back and see the whole community thrive the way, Dan said. The Rockaway Hotel is thriving. A lot of the restaurants are thriving, and we've lost a lot of restaurants. We've lost a lot of businesses. And there's a change. There's a change coming, and I don't know. Some people think it's great. Some people think it's not so great. A lot more people down here. It opens up a lot of different possibilities and different avenues for the businesses, for the community on the whole. I think Rockaway Creates could be a great anchor. In the best sense, for all of the people that are working so hard to keep Rockaway what it is.
I love that.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, Jane, I was so excited to also speak with you because I know you from the Goldman Sachs 10,000 Small Business Program.
Mhm.
And like we didn't get to meet
No.
before this, also like before this meeting right now.
That's
And we
right.
spoken by email and
Right.
Right.
Well, you had introduced me when they started the Voices program with Goldman Sachs, and we spoke. We were supposed to be in Washington, I believe, that year, and that just happened to be when everything literally went crazy, and we weren't able to be there. But thanks to Galit, I had an opportunity to speak to people in Congress and our representatives that there's so many things that we need help with. There's so many things that Rockaway Creates and the community at large and the business community can work to help improve the neighborhood and the areas, the different areas as far down as far Rockaway and Breezy included. It's just an amazing thing. And that program, I mean, I can't tell you how that changed my perspective on business. And it taught me that I wasn't alone, not knowing what I didn't know. Sat in my first day, 32 people in the room. There was 31 people that couldn't read their financials. The only one that could was the CPA. And you work and you learn and you learn a lot. So it's always good to know people and meet more people and have those contacts and networks working all the time.
Yeah, and I feel like a lot of people, well, maybe not a lot, but there have been many participants from the Rockaways in that program, and I think it's just thanks, like the way that I got into it, the way that I found out about it was from a Rockaway business who had just been through it. It was through Eat Mud.
Oh, okay.
If and it's because of our community and because of our networking opportunities and because of our openness to share that, those kind of pieces of information are passed around. And I've seen, what is her name? Oh man, I'm like losing it right now. The woman that makes pizza that is everywhere.
Oh. I don't know. Oh, I don't know, but she's the ninja. What's the name of her pizza? It's like not ninja, but it's after that Kung Fu movie.
Yeah.
Dragon pizza?
Yes. Last Dragon.
Oh, okay. Last Dragon. Yes.
Last Dragon pizza.
I have seen her at many like Goldman Sachs small business, the open meetings for any entrepreneurs. So like those kind of things, when you see somebody from Rockaway or when somebody from Rockaway tells you about it, it's like, yeah, let's do this. Let's go out. Let's tackle this together. And I love that.
Definitely. I mean, and networking is one of the biggest things that I do. I'm involved with, in particular, with BNI. That's an international networking organization. I'm a coach for that organization. I have 3 or 4 different chapters that I work with. And that's the whole thing is to really get people that have the ability to refer and the ability to, I think a better ability, and I think we can do this better with a small group like in Rockaway Creates. You keep everybody top of mind. So you meet them once a month, and if you don't see them again, you may forget what they do. But when you have a chance to give a presentation, like we went around the room last month and everybody introduced themselves. I mean, I remembered when I saw Dan's face on this promo, I said, oh, good. I know what he does. I know what he's going to talk about. So those kind of things are great. And now I know that if I have a story or I think something happens, I know I can get to Dan and say, hey, listen, Dan, this might be a good one for you. But I help him. Maybe he can help me further down the road. Maybe not immediately. It's just cultivating those relationships. And again, reminding people what you do, why you do it, how you do it. If they want to sit and talk to you, that's great too. So all good things. And I think that if we all work together, all good things are possible. And, it just works.
Oh my goodness. Totally. I love that you're saying all this, the top of mind thing, because, we have one central community space, right? It is the boardwalk. So even if you don't want to see somebody, you see them. And it's like, it's so easy because the person you want to introduce them to might be like, oh, you're over there. Like, come over here. And, I wrote that quote that you said, it reminds me of how it used to be. Bartering can feel funny when, you're like far, far away. But when you're bartering and you get to have lunch together and you get to like be actually in the same space, it becomes fun. And putting fun back in business is everything, because that's where ideas come from. If you're just sitting and you're grinding, you know, it's really unfortunate.
When you get stuck in the business of business, it's dangerous, because you start to go, you start to circle the drain after a little while, because you're so busy, and then you make more money, and then you make more business, and then you make more bills, so that and it just keeps going. That's one of the things I have to mention, because you mentioned it before and I forgot. Shane was on our vodcast. That was, we call it Welcome to the Right Room. The saying, if you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room. Welcome to the right room. So we have people on that basically talk about their experiences, what they did wrong, what they did right, what they would do again, and really what they bring to the table for other people, how they help, how they can work with, and how they've grown their presence, their business, whatever it is they do. It's always a great thing. We'd love to have you guys on too. That would be great. Yeah. So the invitation is always open. But it's a good thing to always remember to, as much as you can give, that you will be blessed. My wife's grandmother, 99 years old, her favorite line was, when you cook, the more you put, the more you taste. Right. So it's the same with business. The more you put into it, the better off it's going to be. It's going to reap rewards for you. It's going to taste better going down when you get those rewards.
Amazing.
Nice.
Well, I'm super inspired. I'm already trying to like push out the thoughts so I can think of them. But like, how can we have like it's almost like instead of speed dating, it's like sit down and have like speed moments with all of our, our amazing, smart people. And
it's
then,
cool.
and then
networking.
Speed networking. It's like, keep it moving. Yeah. Amazing. Okay, good. Let's bookmark that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
I'm already envisioning like
I know.
we have 5 minutes.
We're
at the brewery or somewhere else.
Or Knights of Columbus we just went to. Yeah, I think that's the special thing. And we all have really good examples of it, is when you have an idea here in Rockaway, you can just like next week, oh, look, it's already happening.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
That doesn't happen everywhere else.
No.
Too much planning, too much. Yeah, that's true.
No, but if you're here already, we'll build it.
Yeah. And once you've separated and go back into your own life and your own scheduling, but here it's like, oh, I have to get coffee. You have to get coffee. Let's go to this place. Right. So it's really, I really want us to take advantage of this more and more. Like Galit and I got close when we did this. She's like, I'm making a video. I'm like, I'll help you. And I just went because it was fun. And I really just, I didn't realize it, but it's a way of bonding, is to show your genius. Yep. Right. It's a great way to build relationships. Whereas in other places or in other moments, it's like talking about gossip or what's wrong or what's right in life. It's like, here, let's do what we do best. And
one other thing, people get intimidated sometimes. I mean, I know when I walk into a room, I really have to get out of my comfort zone. I'd much rather sit in the back and not talk to anybody and just see what's going on. I love to be an observer, but I know if I don't push myself, I'm going to go to something and nobody's going to even know I was there. Mm-hmm. And that's not what I need to do. I need to be out. I need to be showing my face. I need to be asking questions. Listen, if you want to do a speed networking thing, I'd be more than happy to sponsor it. We can figure out a place. Let's get it done. I'd be happy to. That'd be right up my alley. So
yeah, great. Because we want to get you involved, because I feel your treasure chest of genius, and we did.
Thank you.
Yeah, remember we made those videos together, or we made those scripts together, I'll say. And it's really easy to go into hiding. But the thing is here is like, where's Jane? You can't go into hiding. Like, you can think you're hiding, but people know and they see you. And our groups, maybe they're 40. That's the most we've had at a meeting. But usually, if it's smaller, you actually see everybody.
Right. But it's good because you guys are accountability partners for everybody. And it's really, like you said, if you walk on the boardwalk, like I could avoid you. But if I'm on the boardwalk, guess what? I may bump into you. And then what do you say? Like, oh crap, I got to turn around. You're not going to do that. So I think it's great. And I think that something like Rockaway Creates that can keep people so close and right in the community can really be attribute to the exponential growth here in Rockaway for all of the businesses, the creatives as well. I mean, I know a lot of people don't like working with creatives. I love working with a challenge. Creatives are right up my alley. So whatever I can do, I'll be there to help.
Amazing. Cool. Well, yeah, go ahead, Dan.
No. Jane had to say, I'm looking down at your panel now. As this is really a panel discussion. No, I'm really amazed at all the things that the experiences you've had or you're bringing to the table. It's fascinating stuff, and I agree, it's what a lot of people need. And I'm sure in a lot of things people don't feel that support around them, or even somebody to turn to. I mean, I'm always amazed at, say, the Rockaway Creates meeting when somebody say, I love doing my business, but I hate doing, say, the financials. And then somebody just pop up and say, hey, I do financials. And it's just that very organic meeting of talents and of possibilities. And and that's a lot of what you do all rolled up in one. That's amazing.
Yeah. But it is so amazing to hear all of you at a meeting just go and say what you do. And then I sit there and I say, you could piece this one with this one and that one with this one. And to get that community to work together is just awesome. And if you have that vibe flowing already in the room, you got it made.
Yeah.
So really good.
Amazing. All right. So we're gonna I think you're both already in the Facebook group. We have, and every Thursday you can post your stuff.
Yes.
And that will post a bunch of your links and blah blah blah. But if there's anything you want to add to it, let us know and we can add on that.
Great.
And anything else anybody want to share before we close?
Any nuggets of wisdom?
Oh, now she wants wisdom.
No. Don't play in traffic. There you go.
As the sound.
That's a lesson for a lot of people out there, especially this time of year. Exactly. No, I would say it's just the world is full of interesting people and people doing things. Rockaway is very much so. As a person who's just been often shy and whatever, it's like, I would say, if there's something you see that's interesting, go out there and at least sit and listen or connect with other people, because you will find a lot of interesting, informative, and really nice people out there. And it's Rockaway, so it all comes into community. It's like we're all here, and even if we don't know each other, yes, as my cousin said, we know each other. And I
love that.
He said.
Yeah. Well, I want to add is that this is welcome to anybody. Like, you don't have to live it. We happen to live in Rockaway, and Galit has her energy here and comes back to visit. But if you live in Brooklyn or any part of Queens or the Bronx, like, we have people that come to our network and connection and meetings that live in Brooklyn and stuff. So if somebody's watching or listening to this, like, feel free to reach out, even if you don't live here. We're all inclusive.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Amazing. So we have some cool events coming up in the summer. One is on June 16th. And then in July, we're having a Pride event with Galit's genius title of Keep the Pride Going. And we have some more things to come, but we're also really open to ideas. And in our Facebook group, there's a treasure box with colors coming out, and there's so many ideas there. So if you feel like, oh, I want to do something, where should I put my energy? You can go pick something from that, or you can add to it. And some of the things were like, oh, I want to watercolor outside. They don't have to be like business ideas. They can just be like, oh, I want to do that. Who wrote that? Let me write to them. Like, I really want to encourage people just randomly reaching out.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Very good.
Awesome. Thank you both so much for being here and sharing your genius. And
Well, thank you so much for having us. I really enjoyed it. It was very fun.
Yay, good.
Absolutely my pleasure. Thank you.
Amazing.
And tune in for another episode next month. And if you're watching this on Spotify or YouTube, please make sure to like, share, subscribe, and send this out to someone you know needs to hear it.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. Okay.
Thank you so much.
Bye.